Hare Krishna. As I told you earlier, we have created this channel. The name is Harihi Sarvatra Giyate. The purpose of this channel is to glorify Krishna and his devotees through Mahabharata. And I also told you earlier in my introduction to Mahabharata that there are different versions of Mahabharata. There were different versions of Mahabharata. But unfortunately, the full version available now is of only Vyasas. The one more version of Mahabharata, which is known to some extent, is Jaimini's, and unfortunately only Ashvamedha Parva is available. I mean, it's of course fortunate that at least one Parva is available, Ashvamedha Parva, but the unfortunate part is that the remaining Parvas are not available. I could start speaking on the Vyasa's Mahabharata right from the beginning, but I decided that we'll talk about it later. First of all, I would like to speak from Jaimini Mahabharata, the only Parva available, Ashvamedha Parva. This particular version of Mahabharata, as I told you earlier, is purely devotional. You will find the contents are so beautifully presented. Jaimini is presenting the whole Ashvamedha Parva in a purely devotional manner. And Jaimini has a special style. All the different sages, the authors of different scriptures, they have their own particular style. Say for example, Valmiki is expert in Karuna Ras. If you read his version of Ramayana, it's presented, the prominent rasa is Karuna Ras. Similarly, if you read Jaimini's style of presentation, when he is presenting a katha, he brings a lot of intrigue, a lot of thrill, a lot of excitement in his narration. That you will find here. And if you remember last time I told you, or maybe I didn't tell you, but Vyasa gave different Vedas to different disciples, the 4 prominent disciples, Jaimini, Sumantu, Pela, Vaishampayan. As far as Shukadeva Goswami is concerned, he was given Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the best of all the scriptures. Shastra Shiromani, Srimad Bhagavatam is the king of all the scriptures. And Vyasa found only Shukadeva Goswami to be the most befitting candidate to receive and to be the Acharya of that particular scripture. And the Vedas, as far as the Vedas are concerned, Vyasa delegated the 4 Vedas to 4 of his disciples. Jaimini was given Samaveda. Sumantu was given Atharva Veda. Pailai was given Rigveda. And Vaishampayan was given Yajurveda. If you have paid attention in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedanam Sam Vedosmi. That among the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. And the Acharya of Samaveda is Jaimini. That means the Vedas are eternal. It's not that these 4 disciples of Vyasa made or created these Vedas. It's just that Vyasa, in order to expand the Vedas and present the Vedas in a very systematic and a divided way, he gave this task to his 4 prominent disciples. And Jaimini was given Samaveda. And it's noteworthy here that Krishna specifically identifies himself with Samaveda. That means if you, as a matter of principle, if you extrapolate this particular statement of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, that means Krishna is identifying himself among the 4 disciples of Vyasa. He is identifying himself with Jaimini. That means Krishna is saying that among the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. So if Krishna wants to say that among the 4 prominent disciples of Vyasa, what will he say? I'm Jaimini. So that gives Jaimini a special position among the 4 prominent disciples. And After Shukadeva Goswami, as far as the Bhagavad Siddhanta is concerned, the Bhagavad principle is concerned, Jaimini is considered to be the most befitting candidate for that. That you will come to know, you will realize yourself as I narrate to you this version of Mahabharata, Jaimini's version of Mahabharata. And as I was telling earlier, that Jaimini was given Samaveda. And Sama deals with a lot of songs. There are many songs in Samaveda. It's called Samagan. As I have, that's what, that was a part of Prasthana Veda. But in the Vedas have 4 divisions: Samhita, Brahman, Aranyak and Upanishad. Now, as far as the Samhita and Brahman is concerned, they deal with the Karma Kandas. And in the Karma Kanda, the Samveda specifically deals with Karma Kanda in such a way, Jaimini has presented them, the whole Samveda, in such a way that the materialistic performer of these sacrifices will be gradually elevated to the devotional platform. It is specifically designed in that way. And there are many songs actually. It's called Samagan. Samveda, that means there are many songs. It has to be sung very nicely. There is a lot of poetry. There are many rich poetic ornaments in Samveda. And Jaimini is especially expert in that. Lot of metaphors, lot of alanka, lot of puns. Jaimini is expert in all of them. Basically, the poetry. Jaimini is expert in that. And he is using very rich poetic ornaments in this presentation, in his presentation of Mahabharata, Ashvamedha Parva, Jaimini Ashvamedha Parva. Jaimini's version of Mahabharata was actually bigger than Vyasa's version of Mahabharata. Vyasa's Mahabharata is said to have 1 lakh slokas, 100,000 slokas. But Jaimini's Mahabharata, the scholars say, the Vidwan, the Panditas say, that Jaimini's version of Mahabharata had more than 1 lakh slokas. But we have Ashvamedha Parva, which has 4,000 slokas. So, I will narrate, I'll speak from Ashvamedha Parva. There are so many nice instructions about Dharma, so many nice glorifications about Krishna's holy names. The whole Parva deals with glorification of Krishna and his devotees. That you will notice. The background of this version of Mahabharata is that Jaimini already heard Vyasa's Mahabharata in the Sarpasatra. Who was Jaimini? Jaimini was great grandson of Arjuna. Arjuna's son was Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu's son was Parikshit, and Parikshit's son was Jaimini. So Jaimini had, prior to hearing Mahabharata from Jaimini, he had already heard Mahabharata from Vaishnampayan in the Sarpasatra. The Sarpasatra that he himself performed in order to avenge the death of his father. So the legend goes like this, that after hearing Mahabharata from Vaishnampayan, Jaimini again heard it from Jaimini. And after hearing from Jaimini, Jaimini had a special experience, a different experience. This is expressed in the very beginning of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, as I told you in my introductory class. There, Jaimini very clearly expresses that though I have heard Mahabharata from Vaishnampayan, but what I have experienced after hearing from your lotus mouth, he is expressing to Jaimini. This particular version of your Mahabharata has a special effect on me. When Jaimini heard Mahabharata from Jaimini, he developed Satviki Vikar in his body. He was already a devotee of the Lord, but when he heard it from Jaimini, because Jaimini has a special devotional flavor, so when Jaimini heard it from Jaimini, his devotion increased manifold. He experienced a lot of sattvika vikar and he was immersed in love of God. Such is the effect of Jaimini's version of Mahabharata. I would like to tell you something more about Jaimini's glories and his version of Mahabharata. Sometimes some people have an understanding that Jaimini himself was a Nirishwarvadi. Well, they may have sufficient reason to believe like that, but there is a need to go deeper into this understanding. If you consult Govinda Bhashya, that's the commentary by Baladev Vidyabhushan on Brahma Sutra. The third sutra is Shastra Yonitvat. There, Baladev Vidyabhushan is saying that Jaimini was a Brahmanishta. He never says that he was Karmanishta. And Baladev Vidyabhushan says, how come Jaimini, being a disciple of Vyasa, give a different doctrine contrary to his own guru? As some people believe that Jaimini himself was a Nirishwarvadi because he gave Karma Mimamsa. Now, that's again another topic of debate and discussion. The question is really Karma Mimamsa intrinsically Nirishwarvadi? Because Vedant Deshikan and Baladev Vidyabhushan don't say like that, don't agree with that particular version. Inherently and intrinsically, Karma Mimamsa is not Nirishwarvadi. It's just that it has been presented by the modern scholars in that way, in a Nirishwarvadi fashion, that is godless fashion. Otherwise, not that the original Mimamsa, Karma Mimamsa was Nirishwarvadi, and not that Jaimini himself was a Nirishwarvadi or atheistic. So, Jaimini has a lot of glories actually as a pure devotee of the Lord. You might have heard how Lord Jagannath manifested in this material world and why we are celebrating this Rath Yatra every year. The whole story about King Indradumna becoming instrumental in the appearance of Lord Jagannath in this material world actually is narrated by Jaimini. It is given in Skanda Purana in a Vaishnava Khanda. Apart from that, if you read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, there you will find Rupa Goswami specifically giving reference of Mayurdhvaja, a pure devotee of the Lord, how he sacrificed his own body for the pleasure of Krishna. That is described in Jaiminiya Ashvamedha Parva. Also, Lochandas Thakur, a pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya, tells in the very beginning of his Chaitanya Mangal that he is immersed into ocean of ecstatic love when he reads from Jaimini Mahabharata about Lord Chaitanya. That means the whole version of Jaimini Mahabharata is not available, and in that version, somewhere, which part is not available now, in some part of that Mahabharata, lot of glories of Lord Chaitanya are given. And Lochandas Thakur used to regularly read from that. Also, there is one more thing. There is a famous song by Bilvamangal Thakur, Govinda Damodar Stotra. In that particular stotra, it's a big stotra actually. I think there are more than 70 slokas in that stotra. Baladev Vidyabhushan has specifically taken one sloka as it is from Jaiminiya Ashvamedha Parva, from the episode of Sudhanva. So the sloka goes like this: Hansadvaja Shankhayuto Dadarsha Putram Katahe Pratarantaменam Punyani Namani Hare Japantam Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. This particular verse Bilvamangal Thakur has included in his stotra, Govinda Damodar Stotra, and it's exactly same there in Jaimini Ashvamedha Parva. So he has taken it from there, from Jaimini Ashvamedha Parva. That means this version of Mahabharata was quite famous actually earlier. Even now in Karnataka, there are some Brahmanas, some traditional Brahmanas are fond of singing this particular Parva in Kannada language, because there was a poet named Lakshmisha, and he wrote, it's kind of a compilation or his own presentation of Jaiminiya Ashvamedha Parva in the vernacular language, in the Kannada language, with a lot of poetic enhancement. He used a lot of poetic ornaments, some additional ornaments in that particular work. So that version is also available in Karnataka, and some people, not many, but some people do sing. You will find some of them on YouTube also. So in this way, I just wanted to shed some light on the glories of Jaimini. He should be respected as a pure devotee of the Lord, because he is a pure devotee of the Lord. And why he gave karma mimamsa like that, well, that's a different topic. We can discuss about that also, but not in this forum, not in this channel. Or maybe in this channel, but in future, not now. That is a very interesting topic, because we have to go into the Shad Darshan part if you want to talk about that. But for now, we'll discuss Jaimini Ashvamedha Parva. The background is Yudhisthira, after the battle of Kurukshetra, became very, very morose and dejected, because Yudhisthira, as you know, he is the emblem of Dharma. He is the personification of Dharma. He was the son of Dharmaraj or Yamraj. And he had a very soft heart. In the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, the first Upaparva is Raj Dharmanushasana Parva. There, Bhishma is describing very vividly and at length the Raj Dharma and the Rajniti, how a king should be. He taught the whole Raj Dharma to Yudhisthira. There he is describing the character of an ideal king. You will see that all the necessary qualifications that are expected from a Rajarshi. Who is a Rajarshi? Rajarshi is a sage in the form of a king, you can say. Raj Rishi. That means he's a sage, he's a Rishi, but in the form of a king. That means his character is very saintly. He has a character of a Rishi. So that was Yudhisthira. Yudhisthira had all the qualifications to become a Rajarshi. He had a very soft heart. Though he was a king, he was a Kshatriya, and Kshatriya Dharma is very harsh actually. It's very, again and again repeated in Mahabharata that Kshatriya Dharma is, Yudhisthira himself says, fie upon the Kshatriya Dharma. Dhikkar hai. Why? The Kshatriya Dharma is very harsh. But Yudhisthira Maharaj was so perfect because he was saintly and he was a pure devotee of the Lord. All the Pandavas were pure devotee of the Lord. And many people have some misconceptions about the Pandavas undergoing a lot of tribulations or agony, the inconvenience and the pain they suffered. They had to go to jungle, they lost their kingdom. Draupadi was insulted and they had to go to jungle, they lost their kingdom, they lost all their wealth, and they had to hide incognito for 1 year. So many problems. Draupadi was abducted and they had to retrieve her. So many problems were there. Some people think that they underwent all these problems, they got some kind of reaction to their previous sinful activities. Some people believe like that. But it's not a fact. The fact is, all the Pandavas were pure devotees of the Lord and they had no karmas to suffer actually. Because all the devotees of the Lord, all their sinful activities are burned by Krishna himself. And Pandavas never performed any kind of sinful activities in their none of the previous lives, because they are eternal associates of the Lord. So, Yudhisthira Maharaj had a perfect character. So when this battle took place on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Prabhupada says that on that battlefield, 64 crore people died. That's a huge number. And that's the biggest world war actually in the history of mankind. Not the First World War, not the Second World War. The Battle of Kurukshetra was actually the biggest world war. And you will find many details from Vyasa's Mahabharata. Different kinds of warriors joined in that battle from different areas, different countries, and different provinces. So they were killed. Only 10 warriors survived the whole battle. Who were the 10 warriors? The 5 Pandavas, then Kripacharya, Kritavarma, Satyaki, Ashwatthama, and Yujutsu. All the remaining warriors died. It's a big massacre in the history of mankind. Unprecedented massacre. So Yudhisthira considered himself to be responsible for such a big massacre. So he was lamenting like anything. He was dejected. He developed very strong sense of renunciation and detachment from this material world. It's noteworthy here that Arjun developed moha, or he became dejected and depressed, or he was deluded before the battle. And Yudhisthira became deluded and became dejected after the battle. And in both the cases, Krishna's Yog Maya acted, not the Mahamaya. So that we have to understand this principle. Because if we think that Pandavas were any time influenced by Mahamaya, it's a big mistake and it's an offense actually. Because Pandavas can never be affected by Mahamaya. Whenever they acted like being deluded or being an illusion, it was purely Yog Maya and never Mahamaya. This principle has to be understood properly. So by the arrangement of Krishna, by Krishna's arrangement of the Yog Maya, Yudhisthira developed this sense of, like he felt he was responsible for the whole massacre. And he gave a lot of justification also for that. In fact, Krishna takes him to Bhishma for this reason only. Because immediately after the battle, when all the Antyeshti and the Daha Sanskar and everything was done, the last rites were done of different warriors on both the sides. Yudhisthira was very, very unhappy. He was very, very depressed. Krishna takes him to Bhishma, and Bhishma gives him so many nice instructions. That's entire Shanti Parva and Anushasan Parva also. So Yudhisthira he's under a lot of depression. Not in the tamasic way, as the modern people fall into depression. That's tamogun actually. But Yudhisthira, because he was the emblem of dharma, he considered himself to be responsible for this whole massacre. So then he was aggrieved. So Yudhisthira, after passing away of Bhishma Pitama, he approached Vyasa. In fact, Jaiminiya says that when Yudhisthira was grieving, Vyasa himself on his own accord arrived there in Hastinapur, near Yudhisthira, when all the Pandavas were also sitting there. And Yudhisthira pays respects to Vyasa, offering him Padya and Arghya, which used to be the normal custom earlier. Nowadays, nobody knows how to receive guests properly actually. But these instructions are given in Mahabharata, in Shanti Parva and Anushasan Parva. Anyway, so Yudhisthira received Vyasa with a lot of awe and reverence. And he was always concerned, he was always worried. How can I be free from the sinful activities that I have performed? The sins that I have performed. He thought that I have performed a lot of sins by killing so many people. I have become the reason, the cause of death of so many people. So many people have been slain in the battle just to make me a king. So nobody is a bigger sense gratifier and a selfish person than me. That's what he thought. This is the character of a saintly person. So he inquired of Vyasa, what should I do, my dear Brahman? By what means can I be free from the reaction of sinful activities that I have performed? What should I do? Without Bhishma, Karna and Drona, because Yudhisthira he had a lot of respect and a lot of affection for Bhishma. And though Karna fought on the side of Kauravas, but he had a lot of affection for Karna also, because it was revealed to him later that Karna was actually his elder brother. So Yudhisthira is saying, without Bhishma, Karna and Drona, my kingdom has become a source of misery to me. Drona, again, you should understand the character of these three people, especially Bhishma and Drona. And Karna had his own merits that I'll tell you later. But especially these two personalities, Bhishma and Drona, these two persons were very, very valuable for both Pandavas and Kauravas. And they equally lamented the loss of these two great personalities. Bhishma was a pure devotee of the Lord. He was very, very learned. He was very expert in Rajniti. He was expert in the Yuddha Niti. He was the greatest brahmachari. Despite living in the palace amidst so many nice, beautiful women, he was never agitated. And that's the reason when he took vow of brahmacharya, there was a shower of flowers on him from the demigods. That's the reason. Because though he was living in a big palace, he was never agitated by, because in the kingly palace, there are different maid servants and different women, they are walking here and there is every chance of being agitated, senses being agitated, but Bhishma was never affected. So it was a big vow that he had taken. Bhishma totally conquered Kamdeva. It's very difficult to conquer Kamdeva. That will be discussed here later. So Bhishma was a great personality. He was a pure devotee of the Lord. And right from the beginning, Bhishma was very affectionate to Pandavas because he knew perfectly the character of both Pandavas and Kauravas. Right from the beginning, he knew. So Bhishma, as Pandavas were totally surrendered to saintly people, and they were totally surrendered to Krishna. Right from the beginning, he could see their character. So he was very, very affectionate to Pandavas. Similarly, Drona, though he had, both actually, Bhishma and Drona had their material reasons to fight in the favor of Kauravas, they were always on the side of Pandavas, internally, morally, and religiously also. But they had their reasons to fight in the favor of Kauravas. Dronacharya, you may not know, but Dronacharya was a great devotee of the Lord, actually. You will find in Mahabharata, after Dronacharya fought ferociously with the enemies, he retired from the battle because he was invincible. Nobody could defeat him, nobody could kill him. So Brahma, along with sages, had to appear in front of him, invisible to others. And Brahma specifically told him to retire from the battle. Even after being falsely informed about Ashwatthama being killed. I mean, falsely in the sense that actually his son Ashwatthama was not killed, some elephant was killed. But when he was informed that Ashwatthama was killed, even after that, actually Dronacharya fought quite ferociously, quite powerfully, and he killed so many warriors on the side of Pandavas. And then when he was instructed by Brahma and other sages to retire from the battle, he just gave up everything. He sat on the battlefield. He came down from the chariot. He sat on the ground. And then he took his yogic posture. And it's specifically mentioned in Mahabharata that he meditated on 400 form of Lord Vishnu. And while meditating on Lord Vishnu, he left his body. After that, Drishtadumna beheaded him. It's not that Drishtadumna beheaded him and then he left the body. Actually, before Drishtadumna decapitated him, he had already left the body. So such is the glory of Dronacharya also. So these were not ordinary people. And Yudhisthira very well knew about their glories. And Karna was also a very powerful warrior, and he was a greatly charitable person. Hare Krishna.